From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
And welcome to it with a special edition live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where later tonight Donald Trump will deliver his State of the Union. More on that in just a moment. Fighting for you from the foxhole of freedom, no matter where we are. Here are three big things you need to know. Number one, the cleanup is underway following the massive snowstorm that dumped more than 2 feet in some places along the eastern seaboard, including crippling New York City. Yes, it's another snow day for the kids. Number two, the American hockey team landed to more applause in Miami Monday as they're gearing up for their big night in D.C. They are headed to the State of the Union address tonight. We'll tell you about that. And number three, let's get to it. There can no longer be any doubt that Trump's decision to designate the cartels as terrorist organizations was an accurate description for those in Mexico. Violence erupting across that nation after Mexican authorities took out El Mencho. He was a drug lord who serves as the head of the Jalisco New Generation cartel. The extent of the violence just coming into view. A report from the center of the storm indicates that more than 24 Mexican soldiers killed by the cartels, and the body count still rising. At the time of his death, El Mencho was the most wanted man in Mexico. He had a $15 million bounty on his head from the United States. White House says our intelligence helped capture El Mencho, who died from injuries he sustained during a shootout with one of the authorities trying to capture him. The Kingpin's death was a step in the right direction, but it has unleashed massive violence across the nation and showcased just how vulnerable Mexico is to the cartel's power. This is from the Guadalajara airport, one of Mexico's busiest airports. It serves as a hub for international travel for tourists. It was overrun by cartel gunmen. Listen to this. Complete chaos is what it was in the streets. We turn our attention now to scenes from Puerto Vallarta, a resort town, a common destination for tourists. These places should be among the safest in Mexico. But when the cartels decided to retaliate for El Mencho's killing, it all became a death zone very quickly. This is what any one of our major cities could look like if we had left our borders wide open under another Democrat president. These are the kind of criminals that leftists are actually trying to shield from ICE and deportation. Criminals that have organized into paramilitary units like this one. These guys have more tactical advantage than much of Mexico's law enforcement agencies and even the Mexican army. They've declared war on America since their inception, too. And Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has routinely rebuffed Trump's offers for help in fighting back against the cartels. This weekend's operation was a rare show of cooperation, one that I hope will continue. But in the event that it does not, America needs to, must be prepared to wipe these cartels out completely once and for all. El Mencho might be dead, but many more just like him will just simply spring up in his place. And there are many more cartel leaders out there that they'll just consider it business as usual. In fact, they might see it as an opportunity. Representatives Tim Burchett and Senator Mike Lee have a unique answer to this problem. Listen.
It's actually provided for in the Constitution that the president can get privateers, and it's happened throughout history a few times. I believe they went after the Barbary Pirates, which later became the United States Marine Corps, if I believe what happened there. And what it does is allows the president to hire privateers. And these would be, like I said before, they're not going to go down here to Roosters on North Shore or Toddy's Backdoor Tavern on Kingston Pike and sign people up. They're going to go get first-tier operators, former SEALs, former airborne rangers, folks like that, Marines, because you can't send our military into another country unless there has been ordained by their government to for their military to attack us or threaten us or our civilians. So what you're seeing is a cartel. It's a private entity, allegedly. But anyway, that's a bill that needs to pass. It's called Letters of Marque, and the president could basically send these folks down there and get our folks, and it'd be very efficient, I feel like, and you wouldn't have to ask Congress for every bullet and every rifle.
Yeah, there you have it. A full-on assault against Mexican cartels. We still probably need some kind of Mexican cooperation, privateer or not. But I think we can all agree that something has to be done. These cartels are running Mexico. The Mexican Federal Police Force has proven to be no match for the cartel organizations and their firepower. These cartel leaders would have no idea what hit them if a Hellfire missile was sent their way or a Predator drone. The cartel, whose leader was just killed, is one of the foremost manufacturers and traffickers of fentanyl into the United States. They're going to continue that operation, whether El Mencho is their leader or not, unless we do something about it. That's the bottom line. And the White House drug czar, Sarah Carter, says the cartel's days are numbered one way or another. Here's what she says.
President Trump has been very clear. The cartel's days are numbered. It's over for them. I've made this very clear myself. President Sheinbaum understands this. This is no secret. And I think the cooperation, we're seeing cooperation now. We know that President Sheinbaum and President Trump have a good relationship. They have spoken a number of times. I think the pressure right now on her and her government to work as well to clean up the cancer that has infected the Western Hemisphere. President Trump was very clear with one of the best operations we have ever seen our Department of War conduct, which was extracting Maduro and getting him out of Venezuela. And now we're cleaning up the Western Hem. And Claudia Sheinbaum is going to be a part of that. Now, that's going to take some negotiating. But I can tell you this, President Trump has said this, bilateral, unilateral. We're going to do it if they don't.
In a perfect world, Mexico takes responsibility for this mess. But 200 Americans or more die every day from fentanyl. That's just fentanyl. We've got a lot of stake in this game, a lot of skin in this game. And if we're going to play, it's got to be to win. Speaking of wins, President Trump will be highlighting everything he's done for the Americans in the last year and what he plans to do in the future. At the State of the Union address starting at 9 o'clock Eastern Time tonight, we'll have full coverage beginning on Real America's Voice at 7 o'clock. The Mexican operation going to provide the perfect opportunity for the president to really drive home just how important it has been for the American people that he closed our borders to the invasion of illegals. There has not been a single illegal alien released into this country for at least 9 months, which is an extreme turnaround from the Biden administration, who released upwards of 7 million illegals into our country, which says nothing about how many million more were unknown gotaways. A lot to talk about. A lot to talk about when it comes to blue cities, sanctuary cities and states and places that the American people reject. It's all coming up tonight, State of the Union. I'll continue this conversation in just a moment. Good Tuesday morning to you. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, I expect President Trump to defend ICE and its operations across our nation tonight as they attempt to remove those millions of people who pose a security risk to Americans every day. As leftists demonize the agents trying to protect them, immigration enforcement has been one of the key wins of this administration, which is fitting since it was one of his key promises over and over again on the campaign trail. The economy will likely also take center stage with a focus expected on consumer spending, job creation, manufacturing growth, and efforts to reduce prices and energy costs, as Americans continue to see massive tax refunds hit their bank accounts over the next couple of months. The stock market has been a successful marker for the president as well, and his Trump accounts ensure that the wins in the stock market actually benefit the next generation or two or three. I know Americans will be interested to hear what further steps his administration has planned to bring costs down even further. I also expect President Trump to bring up foreign policy, primarily America's return as a dominant force on the global stage, especially in our handling of our hemisphere, like Venezuela and Cuba and the ongoing conflicts in Iran and between Russia and Ukraine. This will all be underscored by Trump's most recent invitation to the address. The United States men's hockey team, which dominated the competition in Italy over the weekend, winning our first gold medal in 46 years, first since 1980. And they are more than happy to represent this great nation and our president. It will be a good moment. Here's a preview.
I tell you what, I just told my people 2 minutes ago, I didn't know they'd be calling. I said, we're giving the State of the Union speech on Tuesday night. I could send a military plane or something, but if you would like to, it's the coolest night, it's the biggest. We're in. Yeah.
Can you pick us up in Miami on Tuesday morning?
Yeah, Tuesday morning. Close the northern border. We'll get cash and we'll get the military to get you guys over.
Okay. Let's go.
Boys are going to the State of the Union.
Yeah, they're in all right. Absolutely in. That's the way you should celebrate American gold, right there. Celebrate America. No question on when the American men's hockey team stands. But you know who won't be there? A bunch of Democrats who plan to act like petulant children and boycott or walk out during the speech. It's so predictable. And it's so petty that it's got even Democrat Stephen Smith ticked off. Here's what he said.
The president of the United States is going to give his State of the Union address, and the Democrats got other plans. So some are talking about walking out in the middle of his speech. Others are talking about boycotting it altogether and essentially finding something else to do. I'm here to tell you that neither is acceptable. Neither should be acceptable. But you know what I have? I have common sense. I have decency. I have respect for the office even when or if I didn't respect the individual. Because I would understand it as a representative, whether it be that as a representative or a senator in the United States of America, guess what? I have a constituency to answer to. And I have people who need me, who I represent. And whether I like it or not, this individual is in office until 2028. And I got to find a way to do business with him in order to get something done.
Yeah, Democrat Senator John Fetterman does plan to be in attendance. He's a reasonable voice during unreasonable times, he says. Here he is.
So, I try to be a reasonable voice in really unreasonable times. And now that's where I'm at. And I do plan to go to the State of the Union. And then I do hope all the other Democrats that choose to come, that we don't do the same kinds of things that happened at the last year. I mean, it was really undignified. And just the thing, I don't care who the president is. Don't yell and disrupt that. It's like you really should respect the office. You don't have to like the occupant, but respect that. And that's, we should be better than that. So for me, as a Democrat, it's just calling balls and strikes. And I'm always going to pick country over party.
Well, wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if we had a few more politicians who would do the same thing, choose country over party? We might actually be able to get something done around here. As President Trump steps up to the podium tonight for the State of the Union, it's going to be a straight-up victory lap for America. Borders locked down, no illegal releases in 9 months, a huge turnaround from the Biden mess. He'll hammer home how taking out guys like El Mencho is saving lives and keeping fentanyl off the American streets. Expect big talks on jobs exploding, tax refunds, hitting wallets, stocks soaring, and those Trump accounts setting up the next generation for success. He'll flex on foreign policy wins, too. Our backyard, global stage, you name it, while the gold medal hockey boys sit front row repping the red, white, and blue. This isn't just a speech. It's proof America First is working. Again, you can see it all right here on Real America's Voice beginning at 7 o'clock. All right? I'll be part of the team there at the Capitol. I'll be in Statutory Hall, which I'm excited to do. I've never done this before. I'm on location for you. I was able to get in despite all the snow, so we're in pretty good shape. You won't want to miss this one. All right? And then, of course, we'll have a complete review tomorrow here on the Steve Gruber Show. Tired of taking vitamins that don't seem to work? Protivite is a breakthrough liquid. It's a formula designed to absorb quickly so your body actually uses it. When we say multivitamin, we mean it. Over 100 nutrients, including B vitamins, amino acids, zinc, and plant extracts, and you get daily support for energy, focus, and immune health. Only from Victory Nutrition International. Nutrition that gets in. Start your mornings like we do with Protivite and feel the difference. You'll get 20% off today, and when you subscribe, you get 20% off and free shipping forever, for life. VNI.life/Gruber, the promo code Gruber. Listen, when we talk about health on this program, we mean it. I only talk about products that we actually use. And Ivy did the deep dive research on this one. She looked for all sorts of vitamin companies, found this one, made a call, and we made a deal. So the deal is for you. 20% off today, and if you become a subscriber, 20% off and free shipping for life. Again, VNI.life/Gruber. The promo code is Gruber. I'll take a break and be right back. Live from Washington, this is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, so here's a strange twist, a very strange twist on the Nancy Guthrie case. We got all those FBI images and Ring doorbell footage. But it was just revealed yesterday, first by ABC News and then by others, that some of the footage, some of the pictures we saw, not from the night that Nancy disappeared. This is a big deal. It seems to indicate that the perpetrator, the assailant, the criminal here, was casing the place well in advance. In fact, the folks there, law enforcement, been asking neighbors to check their home security systems for the entire month of January. The entire month, right? The night of January 11th specifically, and the hours around the time that Nancy Guthrie disappeared. But this is appearing more and more. It was not random. But what was it? Not a kidnapping for ransom, clearly, because they never contacted the family. This is a strange deal here, folks, a strange deal. And the fact that the FBI and other law enforcement didn't tell us, or we didn't find out, I don't know if they told us exactly or meant to, but didn't find out that the images weren't from the night she disappeared. No, they were from different days, maybe January the 11th being a day they're looking at. So maybe the place was cased out weeks in advance. What a concern that would be, obviously, right? That would be a big concern because that means that this was a preset play. All right. Something else for you here to make sure you're doing well. Longevity Wellness simplifies your routine with an all-in-one nutritional shake that supports joints, brain health, digestion, and immune function. It tastes great, it's easy, and it's built for real life. All you have to do is go to longevitywellness.co. Use the promo code Gruber for an exclusive listener discount. Again, this is the shake that provides support if you're an athlete, if you're on a weight loss program, want to make sure you maintain muscle and bone, or if you're older and just want to make sure you're getting the nutrition you need every day. Longevitywellness.co. Again, when you become a subscriber to these products, you save even more money. Longevitywellness.co. The promo code, of course, Gruber. I'll take a break and be right back. It is the Steve Gruber Show on a Tuesday. All right, let's jump back into it, shall we? A lot to talk about during tonight's State of the Union address. Obviously, this near civil war in Mexico after the murder of El Mencho by Mexican police and and military triggered an uprising in Mexico, underscoring Donald Trump's assertion that Mexico isn't run by Claudia Sheinbaum. It's run by the cartel. It's hard to argue with when you see the kind of firepower they have. We're going to hear about what's going on with Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, but really it comes down to, can people pay their bills? That's going to be the main focus tonight, I believe, is going to be the economy and how you as an average American can make sure you make the month work when it comes to paying the bills. Joining me is Tim Murtaugh, a Trump 2024 senior advisor and Trump 2020 comms director. Tim, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Steve. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Now, one of these things that has been front and center in conversation for a long time, of course, is health care. And I believe that the president will likely take some time talking about health care. He's talked about health savings accounts. He's talked about health associations, where the best example I heard came from Rand Paul, where he said, if you took Costco and its 44 million members and let that group of people negotiate with United Health or Blue Cross, you'd get a far better deal than me and my wife fighting against the insurance companies trying to find a coverage plan that would work for us. How important is health care in the conversation tonight to you?
Oh, it's hugely important, I think, because, you know, for most people, it is an economic issue. And President Trump is going to be proud of the American economy, proud of his tax cuts, proud of the growth, proud of wages rising, proud of the fact that gas prices are down, interest rates are starting to come down, mortgage rates are below 6% for the first time since 2022. But health insurance, I think, is something that President Trump has really prioritized and wants to bring down the costs of, because what's been going on with health insurance, and everyone knows this, most everybody has experienced this, is that premiums keep rising in price at the same time that coverage keeps getting worse. You know, it's like if this happened, Steve, in the banking industry, and people spent their entire lives putting money into the bank every single month, and then when you went to try to gain access to your money, the bank said, nah, sorry, we don't exactly have that for you today. That's exactly what is happening with health insurance. People have paid their premiums month after month after month, and then they go to access their health coverage and they get denied. If that happened at a bank, there would be a run on banks. If they said you can't have your money, there would be a huge economic crisis. That is precisely what's happening in health insurance. And President Trump is right to prioritize this. He's been calling these health insurance CEOs on the carpet. Something's got to give.
Yeah. It's remarkable, honestly, Tim. Through Obamacare, we send our money directly to the insurance companies, the ones that say no when you submit a claim.
Right.
The last year I saw information for 2024, fully half of the people enrolled in Obamacare made no claims whatsoever, none. But the insurance companies kept all of that money. I mean, this is a fraud upon the American people, and that's why I say these health savings accounts where people can direct their own health care coverage and how they pay for it with a fiduciary so that they don't go spend it on something else, or healthcare associations. These are good ideas. The Republicans really need a plan for health care, I believe, in the next few weeks so they can campaign on the idea of saving the American people money and giving them better coverage. I think this is critical to the conversation tonight. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And I think President Trump and the Republicans have all talked about really good elements of the plan. You touched on it. You know, more people are employed by small businesses in this country than any place else as a group. We ought to be allowing small businesses to band together and achieve economies of scale in health insurance for sure. Because take a look at what the giants of healthcare have been doing. United Health is the largest health insurance company in the world. And Senator Charles Grassley has revealed what they've been doing. They have been actually rigging the Medicare Advantage system. They know that if they have a lot of patients who are diagnosed with much more serious illnesses, they get bigger lump sum payments for each patient who's diagnosed with a more serious ailment. So they force and push and get these increased diagnoses. They get bigger lump sum payments through Medicare Advantage from the federal taxpayers to United Health. It amounts to tens of billions of dollars in upcharges that United Health gets to keep, because they had people wrongly classified with more serious illnesses. It's insane. They're doing the same thing. They're supposed to be passing on any discounts or rebates they get on drugs, pass them on to the consumers, but they don't. they've created these cutout middleman companies, these shell companies, where they park those rebates, what are supposed to be rebates to the customers, they park them in there and they start calling them fees, and they keep them. And they never pass on the
Yeah.
savings on drugs to consumers. It's insanity. That is the kind of stuff that has to stop.
Well, here's the other thing that really makes people wildly angry, Tim. That is, they go see their doctor if they can get in. They get their 7 minutes on average with their doctor, who says, all right, I want to prescribe you this. And then they go down to the pharmacy, and the pharmacy says, well, we need pre-approval on that. I don't know if we can do that. When the insurance companies are telling patients what health care they get and don't get, that's wrong. If a doctor says, this is what you need, this is my expertise, this is my best guess as how to treat whatever your situation is, and the insurance companies block it, that's wrong, isn't it?
It is wrong, and that's really the serious situation. That's what most people have identified as the biggest problem with their health insurance, is getting denied. And again, it's like a bank. If you went to the bank and said, give me my money, and they said no, you would freak out. And I think most people would, and there would be a run on banks. Health insurance companies do this every single day, and they are in bed. It's a unholy alliance with the Democrats in Congress, as I'm sure you know, Steve. These health insurance companies that got everything that they wanted from Obamacare, billions of dollars straight to them from the taxpayers, courtesy of the Democrats. Under the poorly named Biden Inflation Reduction Act, same drill. Democrats sent the health insurance companies everything they wanted. And you know what? Sometimes the health insurance companies repay the favor, Steve. Prop 50 in California, which is Gavin Newsom's scheme to get rid of Republicans in Congress, toss them out and redraw the California congressional map. Guess who helped underwrite the costs of the promotional campaign for that? You got it. Health insurance companies led by United Health, biggest health insurance company in the world, helping Gavin Newsom throw Republicans out of Congress as payback for all the billions of dollars that Democrats have sent them over the years. It is insanity.
Yeah.
Again, I say President Trump is right to get his arms around this.
Yeah, a system that's rigged against the average citizen. The good news on that one, Tim, is that case out of Louisiana in front of the Supreme Court. We could get a decision on that today or tomorrow, maybe. It might wait till June. That would freeze California's ability to redistrict, which is good news. Virginia as well. We'll see how that case comes out. Obviously, he's probably going to talk about tariffs as well. Those will be big conversations, speaking of the Supreme Court. But healthcare front and center, it is an affordability question for the American people. They need better coverage, and they need better treatment. 20 seconds, last word to you.
Yeah, this is a really very important, not only is it an economic issue, but it's an issue of survival. It's an issue of health and well-being for a lot of Americans. And health insurance companies, those people who are supposed to be helping people on that path, in fact, they're an obstacle. They're a burden. They're a hurdle to try to get over. It's backwards. It's not the way it should be.
An expensive one at that. Yeah, an expensive hurdle at that. Tim Murtaugh, nice to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take a break and be right back. This is the Steve Gruber Show, a special edition live from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. I don't know if the groundhog was right or wrong. I don't put much faith in rats when it comes to weather prognostication. But, look, I can tell you this. We skied all weekend in northern Michigan, Ivy and I did. When we left southern Michigan, there was no snow. When we got back, there was snow everywhere, lots of it. And for the folks on the East Coast, man, they're still digging out 7 states in state of emergency because of heavy snow and cold. Boy, don't you wish you had the right gear. Having the right gear is key to enjoying your winter experience. If you're going to enjoy it, you might as well enjoy it in comfort. That's where Muskox comes in. It's the best flannel shirt you're ever going to own. Brad Hoos founded Muskox in Detroit, Michigan a few years ago. He joins me now. He set out to create the greatest flannel shirt ever. He succeeded. He gets accolades everywhere, including from Team Gruber, because I'm going to tell you right now, Anthony has his on. I wear mine every day. Brad, nice to see you again. And as you look out and you see it snowing again, it's been a pretty solid winter, and people need comfort, don't they?
They do. They do. We love winter at Muskox. We're named after the muskox. If you're not familiar with it, they have some of the most insulating fur on the planet. So we like winter, but most importantly, we like helping people to get outside. And we think a great flannel shirt is the start to a good day around the offices of Muskox.
Absolutely true. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you also have now 100% American-made. I love this. Muskox T-shirts. They're here. Made with heavyweight cotton, grown in Texas, built in Detroit. It's a limited run, kind of a test run for you. Tell me about it.
Yeah, that's right. So for folks who aren't super familiar with the apparel industry, I mean, we don't own our own factories at Muskox, which is very, very, very common. And the capital costs to do that are tremendous. And so we make our flannels. We're very clear. Hey, our fabric is made in Portugal. We've talked about this for a while. We're trying to figure out ways we can do more in the U.S. And we have this great new T-shirt. These are premium T-shirts. These are not cheap T-shirts. I'll be the first one to say that, but they're built to last. You can track the cotton from Texas up to Detroit, and we print it. We make the cut and sew the shirts and do the small graphics that are on there here in Detroit. So it's 100% American-made T-shirts, and that's something that we are very excited about. It's a limited run, so if this is something that you're interested in, by all means, check it out. So if you decide to purchase one, you can do it sooner rather than later before this short term run is gone. But we've got some things in the works.
You have beaten the odds. You are a guy who said, I think I'm going to make a clothing company in Detroit, Michigan a few years ago. I mean, I'm not sure if you hit your head that day, but man, it has worked out. It has worked out. You've been named the best overall flannel by Gear Junkie magazine years and years in a row. You're obviously, we're big fans here at the program, and the entire staff has these shirts. So now you're adding 100% American-made products, working hard every day to do that. I tip my hat to you. And you give money to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center as an aside, as a bonus, more than $100,000 and climbing. I mean, that's just a great program, Brad.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. I mean, I think it probably was a little bit of a harebrained idea that we had a handful of years ago to think that, a few of us in Detroit could ultimately compete with some of the biggest clothing manufacturers in the globe. But, I think it's just a story of hard work and consistency, right? Get out of bed and get to work every single day. And that's what we've done. We talk about being built to last all the time. And the muskox are animals that are thriving today in Alaska, and there's some Nordic nations as well, but they're survivors and they're built for the long term. And so when you put on a muskox, you can tell that it's quality, it's built for the long term. We're not going to be the flashiest or the sexiest whiz-bang stuff that's out there, but you will see the patterns are great. People really love them, and they're built for the long term. And that's kind of been our perspective. And, we don't necessarily get a lot of news every single day, but we do go to work every day.
Yeah, I don't know, Brad. I think they're pretty sexy. I love muskox shirts, and everybody wears them, and Ivy wears them, and Anthony, we all wear them. By the way, folks, support an American company here today. Visit gomuskox.com/Gruber for $15 off. Use the promo code HEAVYWEIGHT. You can also see those brand new heavyweight t-shirts, all high quality. You'll save $15, by the way, off the Muskox flannels by using that promo code HEAVYWEIGHT. And there's a QR code right there on your screen for those of you streaming. You can click right on that, go straight to it. Brad, I am so proud of you every time we talk because it just seems like you keep putting your nose to the grindstone, shoulder to the wheel. And look, you live in Detroit. No wonder you came up with the best flannels in the world. It's a city that needs flannel shirts. I'll give you the last word.
That's right. Yeah, Detroit's a city that needs flannels, and I think we all need wildlife, and that's one of the things that we're most proud of is we've contributed over $100,000 to American wildlife conservation with our friends at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. So you get a great shirt, you're supporting great causes, and we appreciate all the support over the years from Gruber Nation. So thanks to everyone listening for your support and believing in a small American company that we can go out there and compete with these giant companies. So we're grateful for all the support.
And Brad, we're proud of you, like I said. Thank you, Brad Hoos, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
All right. Again, it's gomuskox.com/Gruber. Use the promo code HEAVYWEIGHT. You're going to save $15. It's not an inexpensive shirt, but you'll have it for the rest of your life. Now, when you get one, send me a note. Email me at stevegruber.com so you can tell me what you think about it. I get so many nice emails about this Muskox product. They say, man, it wasn't cheap, but I love it. That's the point. GoMuskox.com/Gruber. $15 off. Use the promo code HEAVYWEIGHT. Trust me, you're worth it. All right? You're worth it. I'll take a break on this Tuesday from Washington, D.C. This is The Steve Gruber Show. All right, here's just a strange story. It popped up yesterday. I said, how does this happen? A woman went missing 24 years ago, right? December 2001. Michelle Hundley Smith disappeared in North Carolina on the 20th of February, right? She was 38 years old. Her husband said that she had left home on the 9th of December 2001 to go Christmas shopping in Virginia. Never came back. People have searched, people have looked, people have, gotten private detectives and never given up. One of her cousins kept screaming, she's alive somewhere. Well, she is, and she was the whole time, obviously. She had just simply moved away. Found alive. Found alive. She was located the 20th of February in North Carolina. After detectives found new information, she just decided she didn't like her life, I guess. She disappeared. Oh, and by the way, she has kids. She had a husband. She was found in an undisclosed location, alive and well. And at her request, she said, please keep my location anonymous. Please don't tell anybody where I am. Something was odd in that whole scenario, huh? Yep. Well, the persistence paid off, though. And anyhow, 24 years she's gone. Most people probably assumed she was dead. I wonder if she was declared dead. That's what courts do, after a certain period of time. Don't know. But she's back. Anyhow, strange little story there. She disappeared. Guess she went. How can you hide in this day and age? Something to consider. Anyhow, it is State of the Union Day. I am in Washington, D.C. I'll have more after the break here as we dig into what the president's going to talk about tonight at 9 o'clock. After this, it is the Steve Gruber Show.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
And let's dive right into it. Fighting for you from the Foxhole Freedom. Today, a special edition from Washington, D.C., as I will be on hand to cover the President's State of the Union address starting later today. We'll talk a lot about that in the next few minutes, of course. As we fight for you, here are three big things you need to know this hour. Number one, Vladimir Putin is putting the nuclear triad on fast track, so says Zelensky of Ukraine, meaning Putin is posturing for a bigger war. We'll see. Number two, the cleanup continues on the East Coast from that massive snowstorm. Luckily, I got into Washington without too much trouble, but to the north, man, it's bad. And number three, El Mencho. He is the fentanyl kingpin that was killed in a joint operation involving U.S. intelligence and the Mexican military. He was the most wanted man in Mexico. $15 million was the bounty on his head. $15 million. Well, he was killed. How did he get killed? For a date. For a date. He was killed Sunday after authorities tracked his romantic partner to a secret rendezvous location over the weekend. They found his girlfriend. Figured out where she was going. I don't know if she lived or died. The operation began February the 20th, targeting the Jalisco New Generation cartel and El Mencho. Like I said, a $15 million bounty on his head. So they were very interested in finding him and terminating him, which they did. Defense Secretary of Mexico, Ricardo Trevilla Trejo, said during a news conference that military intelligence identified and located a trusted courier or guard connected to one of the romantic partners. The associate then transported the partner to a designated cabin for an overnight meeting with El Mencho. Well, that was it. A mugshot beside graffiti depicting the man has been circulating because they've had him on this list for $15 million for years. The day after the partner left the property, intelligence confirmed that he remained behind with a small security detail, prompting authorities, including Army Special Forces and the National Guard's Immediate Reaction Force, to carry out the operation. Now, after he was killed, the cartel went crazy, attacking numerous locations in places like Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara Airport, and other places. More than 24 National Guard soldiers from Mexico killed, several others as well. It's also being reported more than 30 members of the cartel died in gun battles and from military action from the Mexican authorities, including airstrikes from the Mexican Air Force. But this underscores what President Trump has been saying, and we've been saying here on this program for a long time. Mexico is not under the control of the government. The government is corrupt, wildly corrupt. Many of these officials are on the take. Let's just call it for what it is. They're on the take. They protect these drug cartels because there's so much money. And if you've seen the footage of the military gear they have, it is remarkable. Fully protected military vehicles, reinforced military vehicles, 50 caliber machine guns up top. It looks like an army for a small nation because, in effect, it is. And as we know, El Paso's airport was shut down here just a few days ago when cartel drones came into U.S. airspace. El Paso is a concentration of Marines, Army, Air Force, intelligence. It is a hub for some of the best and brightest in the American military. And don't be surprised if Donald Trump says, look, it's time to send in somebody to take these people out. They are a threat not just to Mexico, but to the United States. Tens of thousands of Americans die every year from the poison that is distributed by these cartels to line their pocket. El Mencho, good riddance. And for the cartels, they're going to continue to fight, but they have revealed something very important, and that is their firepower, their ability to strike back. When you have more than 24 military members killed by the cartel, this isn't a skirmish, this is a war. And I would expect the president to spend some time on this during the State of the Union address tonight. He should, he has to. They're a threat not just to Mexico, they're a threat to America. They're a threat to the entire region, these cartels, which is why the president designated 8 cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, 2 in Venezuela, 6 in Mexico. They are an absolute threat. But I guess having a date, a conjugal visit was the last great act of El Mencho because that got him killed. They tracked him, they found him. They killed him. And trust me on this. If, with U.S. intelligence, they can find the most wanted man in Mexico, they can find them all. They can find them all. And a Hellfire missile or a Predator drone can do real damage to the cartels going forward, and that's really, really important. All right, let's go through a few other things here today. I saw this, and I found it remarkable. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas was with a group of folks, and the media was there, and they're asking him questions, right, about when he would retire. He's 80, I think. When would he retire? There's rumors that Samuel Alito, who I believe is 78, could retire as early as April, giving Donald Trump a chance to add yet another justice to the Supreme Court, his 4th, which is pretty unprecedented, by the way, in modern times. But when asked about when he would retire, Clarence Thomas, well, he had a pretty good answer. Here it is.
One of the things I say in response to the media is when they talk about, or especially early on, about the way I did my job, I said, I will absolutely leave the court when I do my job as poorly as you do yours. And that was meant as a compliment, really.
I will leave the court as soon as I do my job as poorly as you do yours. Man, he nailed it. What an indictment of the media. Do you trust the media anymore? I mean, ABC, CBS, NBC, Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, MS, whatever they call themselves now. Because I put no faith, no stock in what they report. None. In fact, the New York Times ran a headline in the last 24 hours that being a pedophile is a condition, not a crime. Can you imagine being in a newsroom where they say pedophilia, raping children, is not a crime? That's what the New York Times put on a headline in the last 24 hours. I can't imagine why nobody trusts the media anymore. Can you? When they put out a headline like that? That's why we do what we do here, trying to tell you the truth, sort through it, get through the chaff, find the wheat, find the truth of the matter, and apply common sense and good judgment to all of it. There you have it. What a great answer by Clarence Thomas. I'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more here as we look to the State of the Union address. 9 o'clock tonight, complete coverage on Real America's Voice. I will be in the Statutory Hall talking to members of Congress, U.S. senators, and more. You don't want to miss it. Coverage begins at 7 o'clock tonight on Real America's Voice. I'll be right back.
Go ahead, Steve.
All right. We apologize for some technical difficulties here. It happens from time to time when you travel, I suppose. So bear with us. We'll get this sorted out, and we will get this all figured out as we move forward here this morning. I apologize. We will be back up and running in full speed here in just a moment. We're getting it sorted out and, just figuring it out. All right, so for the State of the Union address tonight, the number one topic, seriously, is the economy and how people can afford what's going on in their own homes. A lot of good signs in the economy, but if you're somebody who's struggling, it doesn't mean much, right? It doesn't. So it means that you still have to pay your bills. You still have to make sure that what you're doing is getting you through the month. And so it doesn't matter to a lot of people if
the stock market's
at 50,000
or whatever
it might be.
Hang up the phone, Steve.
All right, so here we go. I think we're back. Are we back?
You're back.
We're back. Yep, you're back.
All right. We apologize. A little technical issue here today. One of the computers went and overheated on us. Look, I don't understand it. I just work here. But we're getting it sorted out for you as we move forward here this morning. And we'll be back talking about the State of the Union and everything else as we clear up this little technical issue. Look, sometimes there's gremlins in the machine, so I apologize. It happens, all right. Another word, though, tonight, we will be covering the State of the Union address completely, beginning at 7 o'clock on Real America's Voice. And then, of course, the big speech at 9 o'clock. I think one of the cool parts is going to be the fact that the men's hockey team is going to be in the room celebrating their gold medal. These are guys that love America, and they should celebrate. So we're getting back on track. We'll get retuned here, take a break, and reset. This is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, here we go. Back into it now. Everything's working great. We're back on track. Ain't it great? Here we go. All right, so the White House calls CNN a total disgrace. Total disgrace. For skipping an event honoring victims of illegal immigrant crime. In fact, one of the people on CNN here, I saw it yesterday, referred to the families, to the mothers who have lost children to fentanyl and so forth, as so-called angel moms. So-called. Was it a so-called funeral? Was it so-called grief? Was the death of their family member a so-called victim? I can't even believe the audacity of anyone to refer to the death of American citizens as so-called victims. It's repugnant. During the ceremony in the East Room of the White House, President Trump honored families who have lost loved ones to crimes committed by illegal aliens and drug overdoses. The president said, "Throughout this hall, I am joined by heartbroken Americans who have lost parents, siblings, children, grandchildren, and treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration, led in by the past administration." CNN failed to cover the event at all during the 11 a.m. hour when it occurred, prompting Deputy Press Secretary to the President of the White House, Kaylin Dorr, to note, President Trump is currently hosting a truly tear-jerking event, signing a proclamation honoring angel families, and slamming CNN's lack of coverage as sick and disgusting, and the mask is off. This is why I was just talking about this. This is why you don't trust the mainstream media. Here's an event to honor families who have lost loved ones to people in this country illegally and to the drugs that have been imported to this country illegally. CNN doesn't even bother to cover it. That's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. Shameful, really. And sadly not surprising. All right, now that we're back on track, I'll take a break. We'll be right back. It is the Steve Gruber Show. All right, let's jump right back into it. America's leading cause of death. The leading cause of death has been hiding in plain sight for 50 years. 50 years. You know what it is? Childhood trauma. Michael J. Menard is a founder of United Against Childhood Trauma, UACT, a 501c nonprofit working to make childhood trauma the first root cause of death to be eliminated in America. And why does he believe that it's childhood trauma that leads to all these bad outcomes? Michael, welcome to the program. Nice to see you today.
Thank you, Steve. Happy to be here.
All right, so do tell, why childhood trauma? Why is this, in your estimation, the leading cause of death for 50 years?
Well, it's been a wild ride. I'm one of 14 children, and I wrote my my story about 5 years ago, and that story started to wake up some professionals and actually the general population. And so I dove in deeper and consumed about 350 peer research reports, 70 books, 1,000 interviews, and put the data together, connected the dots that said we were counting the bodies all wrong, and that childhood trauma is actually the number one cause of death and the number one cause of addiction, suicide, and incarceration in America. And I only have data on the U.S., but I think, well, I know it's a global problem.
Let's go to the root cause then. When you talk about trauma, give me examples of, if you will, cause and effect of how you go from this event in somebody's life when they're young to a bad outcome years later.
Happy to do that. First of all, I want to explain the difference between just normal childhood development, disappointments, discipline. That's not childhood trauma. Childhood trauma is something that leaves a mark and actually changes the biology, the physiology of the child. So when something happens, I'll give you some examples. Separation from a parent is a classic one. Neglect, emotional neglect, physical neglect, abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, and major disruptions in the family. So someone going to prison, someone suffering from mental illness or addiction. When that happens, that triggers a change in the development of the child's brain and of their immune system. And it's all been documented for years that this happens. And in absence of healing for the child or the adult, these things manifest themselves into metabolic diseases, mental illness, poor decision making, and that's the bad news. The good news is that healing is available, and it doesn't have to be a life sentence. But we've just normalized it, Steve. We've kind of accepted that life is tough, but it's actually killing people, ruining lives. And I've decided for the rest of the years I have left on this earth that I'm going to try to bring that monster down.
It's interesting because I reflect on something I mentioned here just a little bit earlier in the program, a headline from the New York Times here in the last 24 hours. It said, pedophilia is a condition, not a crime. It's a crime. It's a crime against children, and that is the kind of trauma you're talking about here that has terrible outcomes down the line. And for the New York Times to put such a reckless headline is shameful, but I want you to address it.
Yeah, it's a very sad evolution in our humanity to even mention those words, that it's something that is accepted or okay, but it is so destructive that when that happens to a child, we are born with a barrier of goodness and to keep evil away from us. And when that barrier is broken by a child being violated sexually, it opens wounds. It has a kind of a flashing sign across the child and later the adult's forehead that says, "Come abuse me. I'm broken." So it's absolutely a crime. And there's things to be forgiven, and there's things you need to go to prison for, and that's one of them.
Yeah. When children are violated, it changes the course of their life. So let me ask you this. Obviously, you put a lot of time and study into this. Some are more resilient, I guess. I don't know the right word, Michael, but some go to addiction. Some end up suicide becomes part of the pattern here. But why do some overcome and some not make it?
That's the burning question, and I'll use my family as a great example of that that paradox of childhood trauma. So 14 children, pretty much half of them have experienced some form of mental or mental disorder. I lost two brothers to heroin at a young age, and I know it was because of that. The research is showing that we're born with varying levels of resilience and grit. And in my family, I saw them. We talk about it now as a family, where for me, I used my childhood experiences and trauma as rocket fuel for success. It doesn't mean I'm exempt from the evils and the negative impacts of that, but some of us will wobble under that load, and some of us will crumble. And we need to get to the bottom of that. Part of what UACT will do is fund some original research to understand: can we measure resilience at birth? Can we teach resilience in early childhood that then protects the child? We do know that the first 60 days with a primary caregiver, the mother, is critical to the development of the child. And if the child has that grounding, that attachment is the official word, then they can almost take anything in life. And I, being the second oldest, I had that attention from my mother and that love. She had time, but children 11, 12, 13th in the birth order, in the middle of the birth order, there was no way she could give the attention and the love and the nurturing that each child needs when she's busy with just the daily chores of feeding and educating the children.
Michael, tell the folks where they can find out more about what you're doing, the research and the resources.
Yes. Thank you.
With the right resources, maybe we can accomplish something with better outcomes. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you can go to UACT's website. It's uactnow.com. And in there's lots of information about what childhood trauma is, the pathways to healing, how you can join the movement, because we truly need a huge community to wake up. Community is kind of what caused the trauma. We need community to heal the trauma. And we need to do that by exactly what you're doing, Steve, is putting it out there and covering this, which is not a pretty subject, but it's a critical subject.
uactnow.com, uactnow.com. Michael, really important topic. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. Connecting the dots, I guess. Sad as it might be. We'll take a break and be back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. All right, as you know, the State of the Union is tonight, but this really sets the table for full speed ahead to the midterms. And my next guest is a veteran. Well, she's run for Congress once before. She's doing it again. Catalina Loff is a proud former member of President Trump's administration running for Congress in Florida's 19th district to fight for the America First agenda. And she's joining me now. Catalina, good to have you on the program. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
Yeah, we were just talking in the break. You're running for Byron Donald's seat in Florida 19, one of the most spectacular pieces of real estate, I think, in Florida. Bonita Springs, Naples, that whole stretch right there. Love that part of the state. But more importantly, as you look to the midterms, holding these seats, and I think that this is a seat that you could certainly win. You came so close. You ran for Congress in Illinois, 4 years ago? You came within 2 points of ousting an incumbent, a really close race you ran. Now you've got some experience under your belt, and you've got the support of people that believe in this country. What's it going to take for you to pull off that win in Florida 19?
Well, the biggest difference, Steve, with a state like Illinois and Florida is that, my family came here after COVID, after the elections were stolen. There were so many just different issues in a state like Illinois, and so many Midwesterners now call Southwest Florida home because it's a free state. Florida is a free state, and I wanted to choose to build a family and a life here. And what it's going to take is just making sure that Republicans are coming out to vote. They're getting involved in the electoral process, because what we've seen, especially in a midterm year, is that sometimes our side does not come out. And we need to make sure that we're doing the grassroots. We're focusing on the retail politics of things, and making sure that the American people feel compelled to want to elect good people all across the country. And primaries are so important as well, to make sure that we elect the right Republicans, the right America First Republicans, to then go on and become members and defend President Trump's America First agenda.
I keep hearing these stories, and we'll hear a lot about the economy and so forth tonight. But I keep hearing these stories from the left that President Trump's supporters are leaving him. I've got to be honest, I don't find those people. And I talk to Democrats, Independents, Republicans. I don't find people that are like, I can't believe Donald Trump is doing these things. I find that something that is a narrative for the Democrats. And the Democrats here in February are already doing their victory lap. You don't celebrate the win in February, you celebrate it in November. And look, in politics, 6 or 8 months is about 6 or 8 lifetimes, depending on how the cycle goes, because things are going to happen. And as you see the economy doing better, and look, Florida's doing great. DeSantis just got rid of property taxes. They're working on that. I think that's brilliant, by the way. I wish they'd do that around the country. But it really is going to be kitchen table issues. Is that what you hope to hear the president talk about tonight?
Absolutely. And, one thing that the liberal media tries to say is that President Trump has lost Hispanics. That's entirely not true. I'm the daughter of an immigrant who came here the right way, and families like mine, we are so proud of the enormous, just the leadership that President Trump has shown when it comes to cracking down on the border, deporting criminals, and making sure that Americans are living safe in a safe environment. Look at the ceremony with the Angel families. In a Democratic administration, this never would have happened. And President Trump is giving Angel families a voice, acknowledgement with empathy. That is leadership. And so Hispanics, especially on the border issue, and all people, Republican, Independents, and some moderate Democrats, really are proud of the leadership that President Trump has shown on the border specifically. It's one thing that comes up time and again on the campaign trail, but also the economy. Inflation is down. We're really focusing on affordability, and when we need to make sure that young families and seniors, whoever, Americans as a whole, are able to thrive. I was honored to work for the Trump administration in the 45 at the Department of Commerce, and what we saw was such pro-growth economic policies that allowed Americans of all walks of life to be able to, again, to thrive, and that mentality, that pro-growth economic mentality, cutting deregulation, cutting government spending is such a cornerstone of a businessman like President Trump. And so I believe that, the American people are going to come out for the midterms. We're proud of President Trump's leadership. And I'm fine with the Democrats remaining complacent, frankly, because ultimately that is what's going to force them to lose. If they think that everything is fine and it's against Trump, and that is what's going to ultimately get them over across the finish line, they could be further from the truth.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the Hispanic vote, especially in South Florida, all the way up to where you are in Florida 19, came out strong for Donald Trump. It happened across the country, and I don't believe he's losing the Hispanic vote. I think that he's, with onshoring jobs and developing the economy, low inflation, like you said, bringing companies back to America. I think that only empowers the Hispanic vote. I think the Democrats are scared to death of it, to be honest with you. They're also losing black voters by the boatload right now. I mean, I can't get on social media without seeing somebody posting a black former Democrat saying, I can't support this party anymore. I think good things are going to happen. Tell me, when is the primary in Florida? When do you have to stand in there?
August 18th.
August 18th. All right, Catalina, where can people find you? I mean, you're a fresh face. You're not 85 years old stumbling around the halls of Congress, thank God. Where can people go to support you?
Thank you. And we're at CatalinaForCongress.com and Catalina Lauf on all social media platforms.
Catalina for Congress. All right. We'll have you back because I think that it's a good time for you. It's a great district. We love it there. When we travel to Florida, it's a great place, and I wish you well in your race to become the next member of Congress from Florida 19.
Thank you so much, Steve. Thanks for what you do.
Thank you. Catalina Lauf, everybody. Yeah, she ran in Illinois and only lost by 2 points to an incumbent there. So I think she stands a pretty good chance of representing Florida. You know, the Hispanic voters in Florida should come out for an America First candidate. We'll see what happens. CatalinaForCongress.com if you want to find out more. I'll have sports with Brock in just a moment. All right. Let's go ahead and check in with Brock Palmbush now in sports. Here he is.
With a look at sports, I'm Brock Palmbush. Only 3 games in the NBA last night. In the marquee matchup, San Antonio won at Detroit 114-103. Also, Sacramento took down Memphis on the road 123-114, and Houston blew out Utah 125-105. In men's college basketball, a pair of top 25 games. 14th-ranked Kansas won at home over 5th-ranked Houston 69-56, and 18th-ranked North Carolina got by 24th-ranked Louisville 77-74. In women's college basketball, 18th-ranked Baylor crushed Kansas State 80-54, and 23rd-ranked Georgia blew out Auburn on the road 74-52. Action has begun in spring training baseball in Florida and Arizona. Winners included Atlanta, the New York Yankees, the Chicago Cubs, Tampa Bay, and Texas. And the U.S. men's hockey team is expected to attend the State of the Union address tonight in Washington. That's a look at sports. Back to you, Steve.
All right, Brock. Hey, so what do you think, Brock? Because I think this is super cool. That the men's hockey team is going to be at the State of the Union tonight. I mean, had to fly him into Florida. Cool. Had to fly him into Florida because of the big snowstorm in New York City where they were supposed to fly originally. But, you know, look, I'm hearing people complain, oh, you know, Kash Patel was there. Can people not take a day just to celebrate an incredible, the guy gets his teeth knocked out. He celebrates America. They sing patriotic songs. They bring out the children of one of their teammates that was killed by a drunk driver a couple of years ago that would have been on the team.
That was great.
This is a great group of individuals, and they ought to be celebrated, don't you think?
Yeah, I think so. This one time, absolutely. I had no problem with Director Patel being in the locker room. I would have said the same thing for pretty much any government official in that situation. I mean, this is something that doesn't happen very often, and you need to celebrate something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we'll look for that. Maybe I'll get one of them on the program tonight. Join me on Real America's Voice beginning at 7 o'clock. If the hockey players are there and I can talk to one of them, especially one of the guys from Michigan, well, I'm going to do it. God bless America. Got another hour of the program straight ahead. Glad you're here. Find out more at stevegruber.com. Read some great columns. Follow us on social media. Make sure you follow us on YouTube. Become a subscriber today. Catch the Forgotten American podcast as well. I'll be back after this.
From the heart of America, where hard work, freedom, and faith still define who we are. From the farms to the factories, from small towns to city streets, this is the fight for the soul of our nation.
We're watching Democrats attack democracy. Do not be fooled.
The strength, the grit, the greatness of the American spirit, all right here.
The left wanted power, not peace, but there's a resistance rising. A generation saying enough, enough. We've tried it their way, and it failed.
The Steve Gruber Show with your host, Steve Gruber, starts right now.
All right, let's put it into action again. Another big hour here on the program, fighting for you from the Foxhole Freedom. Today, the Foxhole in Washington, D.C. special coverage tonight of the State of the Union. I'll be there, and I'll be bringing you complete coverage tomorrow morning as well. You don't want to miss any of that, of course. Here are three big things you need to know this hour following the big blizzard. Number one, on the East Coast, 350,000 people still in the dark, several people dead. We'll tell you about that. Number two, the drug kingpin El Mencho killed this week, triggering those attacks in Mexico, had a deadly game killing Americans for profit. And number three, it is all about the State of the Union address. It is all about the State of the Union address today, taking measure of where we are. Now, a number of Democrats are going to boycott the State of the Union. Of course they are. Of course they are. Humility and decency and just common courtesy, they don't have it. They don't. When was the last time you remember Republicans boycotting en masse the State of the Union or anything else like this? Never is the answer that comes to mind. Never. And a lot of the things are going to be on the front. How about law and order in America? Crime in America is at its lowest level of my lifetime. And isn't that remarkable? From 2024 to 2025, the crime levels plummeted because we closed the border in large part. We closed the border. There hasn't been a release into the country in 9 months. Something like that. 9 months. All told, the number of people that left this country, 3 million, give or take. Those that have been deported and those that have left voluntarily. Right? It's a remarkable number. But you look at these blue cities like Minneapolis, that is no longer in the headlines, thankfully, but needs a lot of input from the federal government. These blue cities are a disaster. And CNN was even forced to admit the fact that blue cities are running themselves into massive debt from failed policies. Listen to this.
New York is really a prime example of a problem Democrats seem unwilling to confront. Blue cities are out of control, promising more, spending more, delivering less, and pushing off the fiscal problems to some future day. Take Los Angeles, another one-party metropolis wrestling with affordability and disorder. The city's homelessness budget for fiscal year 2025-26 totals about $950 million. The LA Homelessness Services Authority reported that in 2023, homelessness was up 9% countywide and 10% in the city. And a 2024 AP account noted that homelessness has surged 70% countywide since 2015 and 80% in the city. All this amid public frustration despite billions spent.
Billions of dollars spent on what? You know, and I want to jump to bite 4 here, Anthony, because Gavin Newsom is running for president. He hasn't officially announced, but he's clearly running for president. He's making his rounds in certain places. Won't go see Stephen A. Smith, but he'll see everybody else. Not me, of course. And Dana Bash on CNN was talking to Gavin Newsom here yesterday, talking about the cost of living in California. It's double digits higher than it is the rest of the country. That's why people are fleeing California. And how do they address the high cost of living in California? They raise taxes. We're gonna tax the rich who just say, hey, see you later. Corporations leave, high worth individuals leave, people that can get out, even if they're not high worth individuals, head for the exit, they grab a U-Haul and hit the trail. This is what's happening to California. And Dana Bash called Governor Newsom out on this. Of course, he totally avoids the conversation and the question because he doesn't have an actual answer. And speaking of the homelessness we were just talking about, Gavin Newsom has, you can go back and go to the archives year after year. Oh, here's our plan for homelessness. Here's our plan for homelessness. Stop it. Listen to this.
California has the highest cost of living in the nation. The state's prices are 11% higher than the national average. We were actually out to dinner here in Nashville last night. We met a couple from California. Yeah. They moved out of California because they couldn't afford the rent or even to buy a home and also start a family.
Yeah, we've had hundreds of thousands of people move in California the last 2-3 years. We've seen population growth. As you know, we moved from 6th to the 4th largest economy in the world, and we dominate now in every key industry, from AI, quantum, robotics. We dominate in ag. We dominate forestry.
But people are struggling to afford things like your mom was.
Yeah, he can't answer that because there is no actual answer to it except that his policies are a disgrace. Highest cost of living in the United States. The highest cost of living in America is 11% higher than the national average. Some places are much more affordable to live. And look, there's a lot of spectacular real estate in America. California does not have a corner on great places to live, and that's why she just said, I think she was in the Carolinas, said, here, we've got people, or was she in Nashville, doesn't matter, a family from California that fled because they wanted a chance to have a life, to raise a family, to pay the bills and not be stressed out every month. Gavin Newsom doesn't have much to offer this country except slick hair and a slick cartoon-like conversation. In fact, I want to play one more Gavin Newsom bite. It's number 7, Anthony. Here is his plan to attract black voters. Insult them. Say, I'm dumb just like you. You tell me if you get anything else out of this. Listen.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. and I'm not trying to offend anyone, trying to act all there if you got 940. But literally a 960 SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech. Maybe the wrong business to be in.
I guess his plan to be relatable is to say, hey, I'm dumb and black people are dumb. Really? Is that what you're going with? Please. I mean, that's just utterly embarrassing. One of our great partners is Patriots Relief, and they're extending through the next week their entire Valentine's Day specials. Sore backs, aching knees, you want to try something new? If aches, pain, or everyday discomfort are slowing you down, Patriots Relief can help you right now. They've got a great special, 45% off. For a limited time, it's going to go for a few days, so whether you're buying it for someone you love or you're treating yourself, self-care is important. Call 877-230-1776, 877-230-1776, or go to patriotsrelief.com, promo code Gruber. It's 45% off the entire store today. 45% off. patriotsrelief.com. You'll be glad you did this. Use the promo code Gruber, of course, promo code Gruber. I'll be right back. Well, energy policy has been central to this administration. It was big and out front for the campaign before President Trump was reelected in 2024. And it's been front and center. Chris Wright, the Secretary of Energy, has, I think, done some impressive things. He's in Venezuela now, helping them. It's been 7 weeks now since Maduro was ousted, working to get Venezuela back up and running. They're putting out about 700,000 barrels of oil a day. They think they can get it to 3 million. It'd be very important. Join me is RT Trevino, oil and gas expert. He runs Pecos Country Energy, privately owned oil and gas exploration company in Fort Worth, Texas. RT, nice to see you again.
Oh, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, energy policy, very important. Obviously, Venezuela is moving in the right direction, but there is a concern today that with the American fleet parked basically in the Persian Gulf and the Mediterranean, that an attack on Iran could send oil prices surging. I just looked West Texas Intermediate today at just under $68 a barrel. It's kind of been in that area for a number of months, fluctuating up or down a few dollars either direction, but it's stood there for a while. But if we attack Iran, it could send oil prices going up, surging. And that's not a good time heading into an election, is it?
No, it never is to increase prices when an election's coming right ahead. But it will be real surprising if we actually see these prices surge higher. Some experts are saying that we could see $100 oil if there is a true disruption in the Middle East. But right now, make no doubt about it, I'm sure President Trump, along with the team in the Department of Energy and the Department of War, are looking at every option available for this disruption not to happen, Steve. But if it did, I think we would see another increase in the price. I do not think we would see that $100 oil price.
Well, let me ask you this, because I think you and I have talked about this before. We don't need anybody else's oil anymore. We don't need their natural gas. We don't need their coal. We don't need energy from anybody else because we produce more than we will ever need here in America. We are the #1 producer of oil in the world now, plus the natural gas reserves we have are remarkable, the coal, remarkable. So why would our prices surge? Is it just because of the world market?
The price of oil as a whole globally would surge in this instance with this disruption with Iran due to the fact that the Strait of Hormuz, which is where over 20% of all oil comes from around the world, would probably be disrupted. Keep in mind that strait is only about 20 miles wide. So if Iran was to actually get a hold of that shipping lane, that would truly make a disruption, and that is really the only way we would see $100 oil. But real quick, to go back to your other point, you're absolutely right, Steve, excuse me. We do produce 14 million barrels of oil a day. I know I've said that here and I've said that everywhere. I am proud to say that. And the great state of Texas here produces about 6 million barrels of oil a day. And we are the Saudi Arabia of natural gas right here in America. And as Secretary Wright continues to bring common sense back to the Department of Energy, I have no doubt that as we continue to move forward, we will see ways to refine all that oil that we have here in America and be able to keep it here. On a random note, we do use 21 million barrels of oil a day here in America, and we do produce 14 million. So we do need to continue to drill, baby, drill. And energy security is our national security, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely is. America runs on vast quantities of cheap energy. It what fuels our economy. How much could we produce if we maximized our production right now?
That's a real good question. When you look at what we're doing, we have had rig count go down tremendously. I can only imagine, and I don't want to speculate, what we could actually produce on a daily basis if we brought those rig counts to what they were just 3 or 4 years ago, especially with the technology that we have today. We are drilling deeper and longer laterals than ever before, and these wells are producing more oil than ever before. And again, with things like AI and just new efficiency technologies, we will only continue to extract those hydrocarbons from the earth a lot more efficient rate and hopefully keep the price down.
Right. So I guess what I'm hearing here, if there's a strike on Iran and it goes after their nuclear facilities or their command and control or their ballistic missile assembly sites, things like that, probably won't disrupt oil out of the Middle East. But if the Strait of Hormuz is compromised, that's where a problem exists.
Yes, that's correct. If Iran actually takes over the Strait of Hormuz, and keep in mind, I do believe we have at least 2 naval fleets in the area. But if Iran was to do that, they would also be shooting themselves in the foot because they would also be disrupting their oil coming in and out, believe it or not, and that would actually hurt them in their price of what they receive. So they would actually be shooting themselves in the foot. But also, you got to keep in mind that oil, not only would they need it for consumption, but that's also their major income source for the Ayatollah. So, for their government, and so that would also be shooting them in the foot.
Well, it'd also be a problem for China. China already lost its access to Venezuelan oil. Cuba's on its heels because they're about to go broke. If they make it another 2 months, I'll be surprised. But China would take another big hit out of this, more than the United States. Last word to you, RT.
Yes, you are correct. China would take another hit. And the reason for the disruption is Iran. What a lot of individuals don't know is that arresting Maduro affected Iran's oil production and, really more importantly, their oil sales more than what the public knows. And that is why this is going on and why the Iranian government is so furious right now and making these threats.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it, RT. Always a good conversation. Thank you for bringing us up to speed, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so there you have it. We'll see what the president says. I'm guaranteeing you he'll talk about energy at length tonight during the State of the Union. No question about it. Again, you can catch me live beginning at 7 o'clock tonight on Real America's Voice. We'll have 2 hours of coverage, including members of Congress, senators. The list is already impressive of those waiting to get on to have that conversation with me. So we look forward to that tonight. 7 o'clock, Real America's Voice, the speech, of course, at 9 o'clock. I'll take a break and be back. It is The Steve Gruber Show. A little bit of breaking news. The Department of Justice now just suing the state of New Jersey over trying to block ICE operations in that state. They don't have the ability to do that, so the Department of Justice should prevail there. We'll see how it plays out. In New York City, I want to go to Bite 6 here, Anthony, because in New York City, Mamdani, as you heard me talk about this week and saw it on social media as well, me talking about it, the fact that Mamdani is begging for people to shovel snow. He'll pay them between $18 and $30 an hour, but you have to present, that's right, government ID and proof that you're allowed to work here. How racist of him. Meanwhile, Byron Donalds, who's running for governor in Florida, currently represents Florida 19, says that he's a communist and argues with the CNN anchor over whether he's a communist or not. The CNN anchor, of course, trying to defend Mamdani. What would you expect? Here it is.
When you put in communist and, yes, communist policies, that's what Zohran Mamdani is talking about.
He's not a communist.
It
He's a
never
democratic
works.
socialist.
He says he's Democrat.
I can't tell what the difference is.
Well, he can describe
Explain what the difference is.
He can describe the differences for you. The socialism is not the same basis of communism in this country. You know that quite
The
well.
man wants to create government-run grocery stores. He wants free transportation, both of which are impossible to do. Because how is
a trigger word to try to undermine all of his policies. He's not he says he doesn't.
I don't need to undermine his policies. His policies undermine himself.
Well,
because they've never worked. Here's all I want him to do. Tell me where they've ever worked. They've never worked. He knows that. I knows that. But what he's trying to do is promise everybody something that they can't have. And the truth is there is no free lunch, just like there's no free bus. Because you know what happens when you have a free bus? There's nobody there to fix it or to drive it. He knows that. I know that. You know that. America does know it. And it's unfortunate that the city of New York, my former home city, is probably going to have to go through this.
Pretty much nailed her to the wall. What's the difference? He's a democratic socialist. And the difference is what? You want the government to take over the means of production? Free grocery stores? Free buses? None of which has happened. I guess they tried to open a free grocery store. It's been failing. That's why you haven't heard the mainstream media talk about it. It's a failure. Of course it is. Just like it has been in other places. Free grocery stores do not work. Do not work. All right, I'll take a break. I'll be right back. It's the Steve Gruber Show. Happy Tuesday. All right. Well, it's not just the State of the Union address. It's also the State of the State address. I think Donald Trump has a lot more to talk about as far as success goes than, say, Governor Whitmer in Michigan. Just to guess. State Representative Donnie Steele, District 54, Lake Orion, Michigan, Chair of the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Transportation, joining me. Donnie, nice to see you.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me this morning.
I mean, call me crazy, but I think the president has more victories to circle than does the governor, who just put forth an $88 billion budget. I mean, they just keep packing more and more and more. While people are leaving the state, we have a net loss, a net negative migration in Michigan. What are they going to tax you and I more and more and more? It's unconscionable. What do you say?
Well, you took all my good talking points, but yes, she wants to raise tax. She wants to raise tax on all the fun stuff. She wants to raise taxes on vaping. You still there?
So, oh yeah, I'm here. So I look at Virginia. The new governor there, Spanberger, came in as a quote-unquote moderate. They have proposed 50 new tax increases on things like walking your dog, having your dog groomed, fixing your car would be a tax, fixing your house would be a tax. I mean, I hope Governor Whitmer and the Democrats aren't looking at Virginians salivating, but, you know, with these Democrats, I have no idea. 50 new tax proposals in Virginia, 50. I mean, how do you get from the Republicans finally got it down, I think, to 81 billion, finally going in the right direction. And so 7 billion in new spending on what?
Well, you know what? It's a little here and a little there and a little there, but she's $800 million in the hole. And so what you have to do is raise taxes to make up the difference. But if we had better budgeting, we could accomplish this just as easily as we did last cycle and just do cuts, which I think the American public, not only in Michigan, but the whole United States, would like to see some of the fraud be exposed like it is in Minnesota and California and Maine. They want to see the same thing in Michigan, where we expose the fraud, roll back some of these expenses, and not raise taxes, but actually reduce them. That would be like my dream day if we could do all that in one budget cycle.
Well, you look around. Ford Motor Company is building a brand new plant, and that's great news for Tennessee. John Deere is building a brand new plant, and that's great news for North Carolina. What major corporation is building a new factory in Michigan today? Because nothing seems to come to mind. And I bring this up because, Donnie, look, Michigan is the only state in the last couple of years that I'm aware of that raised income tax on the people. Now, Virginia is talking about it because, of course, they are, because 50 new taxes aren't enough. They want to raise income tax as well in Virginia and actually would push it higher than California. If we don't stop what we're doing, we will be California or Virginia. We need to get our act together to compete with Indiana and Ohio and Kentucky and Tennessee. We cannot continue to raise taxes on people. It's a failing proposition, isn't it?
Totally agree. And you know what? It would be one thing if our population was growing, you know, and if we had an increase population, but for the last 50 years, we've been pretty much flat in our population. And the population is what actually brings revenue to the state through their sales tax, their property tax, utilizing the schools and all the businesses. That's what creates prosperity, is bringing people. And the way to bring people is to make it where people want to come to. And raising taxes is not the way to do it. So I say reduce taxes, bring people, and then we can have more revenue, and then we can be able to fund the things that we want to fund.
And look, Michigan is a spectacular state. I mean, you look at the Great Lakes, you look at the rivers, you look at the parks, you look at what we have to offer. I was up north all this past weekend skiing. Love Michigan. In the summer, we'll be boating. But if you make it onerous to families to be here, if your utilities continue to go up, which they do, it seems, year after year, the electric rates go up, the natural gas rates go up, property tax, they just got rid of it in Florida, or at least they're close to having it gone. You mentioned that. Property tax, bringing it down, would be another way to help people out. But none of these things, I don't believe, are in the governor's proposal. And I'm pretty sure we did not fix the damn roads. Maybe I'm wrong, but you know, I drive down the roads, it'll knock your fillings loose in too many stretches of road in Michigan. 8 years on, where is the success?
Well, the last year, because we won the House, we had a little bit of big success by rolling back the budget just a tad. We did get funding for the roads. We were able to put $2 billion more towards the roads, and we accomplished that once we won the House back, but it wasn't accomplished prior to. So I'm happy to say that we can report that we were able to accomplish that. And basically, with the rollbacks that we have, our general fund revenue will be rolled back, is giving more money to the people of Michigan will basically force that we have to do $800 million worth of cuts. So I think that those are some of the wins that we had last year. But you got to remember, she's a lame duck. She's out. President's in. He's all positive. And when she leaves, she spends all the money out of the bank, and she wants to spend the rainy day fund and leave a deficit next year. So you can see she's leaving. She spent all the money. Now she gets to go, and we get stuck with the empty bag of coins.
Yeah,
but
blow all the money.
We did win hockey. All the winners are coming from Michigan. That's a positive note.
4 for 4. 4 for 4 on that ice, and that's pretty good news. All right, so she blows all the money, and then she's going to go run for president. I mean, that's 100%. Lock it in, right? She's going to run for president along with Gavin Newsom, two of the most unimpressive lists of accomplishments or failures. It's remarkable to me. How critical are the midterm elections, Donnie?
Extraordinarily. And this is a time to be able to elect a very fiscal, conservative governor. And I believe any one of the Republican side of the ticket would be a good choice. And I am hoping to see a windfall coming this election season from the House and the Senate and the governor's race, and hopefully the Attorney General and the Secretary of State, because we do need some positive change in our governments. I mean, they still haven't come back to work since COVID. So half the buildings are still vacant. So I think that if we just came to work and did our job every single day, that we can turn things around at the state of Michigan. And I'm completely positive that we can do it. And just let the whole world know that Michigan is grit, and you can get hit in the teeth and keep on fighting. And that's what we want to see Michigan be next year.
Yeah, you get your teeth knocked out and still score the winning goal. Donnie Steele, thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. All right, there you have it. Donnie Steele.
Steve. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
You're welcome.
I'll see you tonight.
All right, if you need a... All right, thank you. I am going to tell you that if you're worried about the next emergency, don't be. The wellness company is there with great emergency kits, antibiotics, antivirals, antiparasitics, all in a case that can sit on your shelf in case of emergency. Go to twc.health/Gruber. twc.health/Gruber. The wellness company, getting you set so that there is no real emergency. Back with Ivy after. All right, best part of the day is when I sit here and say, look, everybody, here comes Ivy. Ivy, good morning. How are you?
I'm great, Steve. How are you?
I'm good. Flights went
Good.
well, got in, everything. Lost power in the middle of the night at my Airbnb.
Oh,
So I woke up
no.
at 3:30 because suddenly I'm like, uh-oh, it's cold in here and there's no lights. But thankfully, we got these great devices called smartphones that have flashlights, and I was able to navigate the morning. So
Yeah,
that's
thank
that.
goodness you had some charge on your phone, right? Because then
Yeah, I did.
that would have
Yeah.
been a nightmare if your phone didn't charge and then it died and then you didn't wake up in time. And well, that didn't happen, so you don't have to worry about that. But I believe the power
None
has
of that
been
happened.
restored.
Yeah.
And I actually thought, I wondered, was like, man, does this have something to do with all of the, snow piling up? But your power has been restored, so you're good to go.
Thankfully. Thank
Yeah.
you for that.
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right. What's on your mind?
So, what do you think about this evening, State of the Union? What are you thinking that the president's going to talk about?
Well, I think he's going to talk about a lot of different things. He's going to talk about this recent outbreak of massive violence across Mexico and the cartels. He's going to talk about sealing the southern border. He's going to talk about restoring, the idea of prosperity to Venezuela. He's going to talk about the threat of Iran, but he's going to spend the majority of his time, I believe, setting the stage for the midterms, and that means talking about the economy. How do we make it work? How do we lower the cost of health care, prescriptions, make sure that mortgages are affordable so young people and others can afford their homes, things like that. I think that's where he has to be. I think that's something
Yeah.
that really concerns all Americans, and I think that's where he's going to spend the majority of his time.
Right. Well, let's listen to what Caroline Levitt had to say about it. Anthony, play that bite.
As independence, he is going to share the stories of great American heroes who exemplify bravery and the spirit of 1776. And the president is, of course, going to tout his administration's record-setting accomplishments over the past year, while laying out an ambitious agenda to continue making the American dream more attainable and affordable for working-class people across the country. It's going to be a great speech. There will be some tear-jerking moments, as there was last year, in addition to some moments of levity, and so we hope everybody will tune in.
Yeah, Caroline, what can we expect as far as people in the
back to
audience?
us now, Anthony. But yeah, well, I think that I'm very excited to hear the speech, see what he has to say. I think the economy is definitely something that everyone is interested in hearing about and what the plans are to go forward, and affordable health care. Let's say, can we roll back Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, which was not affordable at all. It'd be interesting. I am very interested to see what the plans are for that in the future, because at this point,
you've hit on something important.
The healthcare
You've
costs
hit
are
on
just
something
outrageous.
Right. Very important point there. And because the State of the Union often used by presidents to unveil a new policy initiative. Maybe tonight's the night we hear about the Republicans' plan for health care, which I hope would include health savings accounts, would include health associations where you have millions of people negotiating with the big healthcare insurance companies like United Health or Blue Cross Blue Shield. Look, I just got a note from a guy yesterday. His new healthcare insurance monthly bill is $3,600. For two people, for a couple, $3,600.
That's insane.
He happens to be somebody that can afford it. But who amongst us can really afford that kind of a hit? That's almost, that's more than $40,000 a year.
Yeah,
It's unbelievable.
That's a lot of people's pay for the year.
That's right.
So that's outrageous. And
right,
it continues
so
to go
I
up
hope
and up
tonight,
and up, and hopefully, there's a solution on the horizon.
Yeah, and I hope that we hear about something about that tonight. I think that's entirely possible that we'll hear something about health care. And I think he's probably going to spend a fair amount of time because he's been talking about it. Back to Mexico. What we saw was horrendous. I've got friends living in Puerto Vallarta. They say it's calmed down. It seems that the fires are out. The cartel has backed off. But more than 24 Mexican National Guard members killed in this exchange. 30 people total on the civilian or military side, more than 30 members of the cartel killed. This was not just a skirmish. You've got dozens of people killed, others wounded, stores and such destroyed. I think that sets back Mexico years when it comes to tourism. Would you go to Mexico today?
No. And I know that the State Department has just issued a, hey, don't travel there warning as they try to get Americans, either they're still telling them to shelter in place and getting them out of the country.
Yeah, and
so
you told me Air Canada canceled all flights. So there's that. I mean, you're the one that brought that to my attention. Air Canada says we're done. And when major airlines pull out, well, then how are you going to get in and out of Guadalajara Airport or any of the other places in Jalisco and other places that have been hit by this incredible violence? Which brings me back to Donald Trump saying, Claudia Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, she doesn't run Mexico. The cartels do. And we saw their military power, right? We saw that display of military power.
Just as, the same type of equipment that the military has. Absolutely. And literally it seemed like thousands of people, maybe 500 vehicles and thousands of weapons. It was quite eye-opening. And I definitely think they put that out on purpose to say, hey, here's our strength. And this is just one of the cartels. I mean, there are many cartels in Mexico and in South America. So when you really start to look at that and say, wow, this is really a big problem. And the power that they have and the money that they have. And, I just think that while the president and the Republicans are talking about all the positive things going on and happening in our country and an incredible view forward, I don't know if you saw this, but the Democrats have just put in legislation, which is titled the Fight Unlawful Conduct and Keep Individuals and Communities Empowered Act. Okay. The acronym, if you spell it out, is FICE Act.
Yeah, of course it is.
I mean, come on. Do you guys have
shameful.
just
shameful?
Yeah.
Anyhow, we got to leave it there.
Gosh.
We'll see. Yeah.
I can't even come up with the words on how horrible that is. Come on, people.
No class. Yeah, let's attack law enforcement. Our first responders, our law enforcement, our federal agents. Suddenly they're the enemy?
Yeah.
Please. Ivy, thank you. Love you.
I love you too, Steve.
All right, so there you have it. Final thoughts as we gear up for the State of the Union after this. The level of chaos and anarchy in American streets was really emphasized yesterday. Police in New York City, following this big snowstorm, are trying to do their jobs. And instead of being able to do that, they're getting pelted by snowballs by a bunch of idiots, right? And you know why they're doing this? Because the police aren't allowed to do anything about it. They're getting just hammered with snow and snowballs, and just look at it. Look at it. Police officers getting knocked down, protesters getting knocked down, just getting one after another, just getting pelted and attacked. One guy right there just ran up behind the police officer, slammed snow in his back. And the police do nothing about it. This is Mamdani's New York City, a place where he begs for you to get a shovel and help out. He'll pay you if you have picture ID, government-issued ID, and can prove that you're allowed to work here. Pretty remarkable, isn't it? Yeah, it's an embarrassment. That is what's happening in New York City. This is what has to stop, my friend. Look, a little fun snowball fight, I get it. That's not what this is. This is chaos. This is children being taught there are no consequences for anything you do. You can attack a police officer, you can curse at them, you can hit them with snowballs, you can attack them because that's the new thing. Because nothing will happen to you. That has to stop. That has to stop. And what does Mamdani want to do? Cut 5,000 officers from the NYPD. That's his plan. Cut 5,000 officers from the NYPD. There's not a worse proposal out there. New York City needs more police officers, not less. They need to be able to arrest people that do stupid things like that, make sure they pay a fine at a minimum, spend a few hours in jail, but no consequences. That's what we've taught the children. I look forward to the State of the Union again tonight. 7 o'clock coverage begins on Real America's Voice. Yours truly will be there from the Statuary Hall. I look forward to it. Fight the good fight. Keep the faith. God bless America. I'm Steve Gruber. This is The Steve Gruber Show.